Are you a replicant or a replican?
Welcome to the Too Old or Pure Gold Movie Podcast. In today's episode, we're discussing the 1982 sci-fi classic Blade Runner. The format of our podcast: two Gen Xers rewatch beloved movies from our youth to find out, are they really as good as we remember? To help us debate and ultimately pass judgment, we ask our millennial co-host to watch these movies for the first time and help us determine, are they too old or pure gold? I'm your host, Olen, Vanderleeden, representing Gen X. Joining me today is my Gen X co-host and most likely to be a replicant, Mathew Stockton.
I'm truly human.
Yeah, that's questionable. Representing the younger generation this week, we have comedian Will Corey.
Hello.
We have sci-fi fact checker Sean.
Hello.
And representing the attention deficit generation, Nicole.
What?
However, even though I'm always excited to talk to our regular cast members, I'm super excited today to welcome special guest Dan Sissons back for his second appearance.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Dan.
I love having Dan on.
Yeah, this is Dan's second time on the pod. The first time he joined us, we were talking about one of the films he worked on, Jumanji. And this time around, we're asking Dan to lean into his industry insights and help us unpack a film we know he genuinely admires, Blade Runner. And for anyone that doesn't know Dan, I'm going to give you an introduction. Dan is a master storyteller through objects. With more than 4 decades in the film industry, he's brought some truly iconic props to life, everything from futuristic tech in iRobot to the unsettling, lived-in details of The Cabin in the Woods. Along the way, he's worked with directors like Christopher Nolan and Tim Burton, and on productions featuring legends such as Al Pacino and David Bowie. Based in Vancouver, Dan's creative influence goes well beyond the set. He's someone who thinks deeply about how objects shape worlds, moods, and stories, and that makes him the perfect guide for us for a film like Blade Runner. Welcome, Dan. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I think it's fun to hear you talk about someone else's prop work in a movie. I think it's going to be very interesting. So let me set up the movie. Today's movie is the 1982 action movie Blade Runner, action sci-fi movie actually. Blade Runner stars Harrison Ford, Rutger Hauer, Daryl Hannah, and Sean Young. The movie's directed by Ridley Scott, of course. Ridley Scott's known for his breakout film Alien, which I suspect probably gave him the juice to get a movie like this greenlit. Ridley Scott went on to be prolific with huge, impactful movies, including Black Rain, which we did, Gladiator, The Martian, and Black Hawk Down. And I think all the cinephiles out there in the world would agree this movie is important in setting the tone for his career. The tagline from the movie poster is, "Man has made his match, now it's his problem." IMDb describes the film as, a Blade Runner must pursue and terminate 4 replicants who stole a ship in space and have returned to Earth to find their creator.
I have a better tagline for this movie, Olen.
Okay, tell me.
Are you a replicant or a replican?
Okay, leave the comedy to Will.
Wow.
Okay, and
Will's covering his ears after that.
for
Come on, that was genius.
we'll let the audience decide. For those of you that have not seen the movie, I asked my 94-year-old dad to watch Blade Runner and summarize the plot. So, Dan, if you remember, I get my dad to watch all of these movies.
Yes.
And see if he can
The best part.
see if he can make heads or tails.
It is the best part.
Are you wondering about the title Blade Runner? Well, so did I, because I did not see any blades in the movie, but it sounded cool. So, we're in Los Angeles in 2019. Scientific developments have enabled humans to create fake people, or humanoids, that are almost indistinguishable from regular Earthlings. They were designed to do dangerous labor work, but they were also supposed to stay on their own planet. Unfortunately, 4 escaped and returned to Earth. The humanoids, or replicants, were smarter than people and considered dangers. And for that reason, retired police officer Descartes was made responsible for finding them and to retire them. Retirement was a nice word for killing. Now the problem was that Descartes fell in love with Rachel, a female replicant, and voila, there appeared to be emotion. The super-intelligent leader of the escaped replicants tries to negotiate an extension of the replicants' 4-year lifespan, but he fails, and he kills his creator. Later, he meets Descartes on a rain-soaked platform in LA, and he delivers a philosophical monologue. Subsequently, Roy decides to not kill Descartes, but Descartes escapes with Rachel, and we're not told about their future, but that may have to wait for a future movie. And that's the end.
I'm sorry, was he saying replicants? It sounded like replicants.
You know what? One of my first thoughts when I finished the movie,
Yeah,
I agree with him, weren't any blades.
that's a good point. It's a good point. Well, I have no idea. We always go into this cold. We don't talk about the movie ahead of getting on the microphone. I'm really interested to see if this movie translates to the younger generation. But tell me first, before we dive in deep, what did you guys think of this movie?
Someone go first, not me.
So I've never seen this movie before,
Really?
which is odd. And I think what hit me immediately is how uninterested the film is in pleasing you. You know, like the pacing is slow, the dialogue is sparse, the world is overwhelming. It doesn't explain itself. It kind of assumes that you're going to either catch up or get left behind. But the cool thing is that it's not bad at all. It's a confidence that's rare in cinema. And it's kind of a mood first film for me. I don't know how to explain it. It's the plot exists, but it's not driving. And really Scott shoots this city like kind of like a belief system, and you don't actually watch this movie, you kind of inhabit it. That's how I felt watching this for the first time. Right? It just, you're in this world. You're not watching it, you're sort of inhabiting it, and I really liked it. It was a great movie. But yeah.
I've not seen this movie since 1982. And my reaction was this. I thought it was cool, but slow. And I walked away from this with more of a, that was a really interesting movie reaction than a, that was a great movie reaction. And I think there were some really, really cool elements throughout. And Rutger Hauer is absolutely amazing. I'm going to talk a lot about him. You know, his performance alone, to me, makes this film worth watching. But my guess is, we're going to hear from the millennials and the Zs now. My guess is that this won't land for Marvel era audiences. Not that you're all Marvel era audiences, but you know, I think
Shots fired.
I think modern moviegoers expect speed and spectacle over mood and patience.
I would
let's find
disagree
out.
with that. I watched a movie yesterday that was so slow and all like vibes, and it was great. But this one, however, all vibes, no substance, not great.
Ooh. Wow.
I strongly disliked it.
Well,
Wow.
this is why we do the podcast, right?
So I'm going to be the odd one, I think, in terms of like not fitting into where my generation is supposed to. This movie was incredibly inspirational to me as a kid, and is an odd one because I did not watch it a ton, but is the foundation of so many things I find interesting. And it is a flawed movie in some ways in the modern world, unfortunately, but I still think it hits hard on some really good topic points.
Okay, well, we'll make Dan go last. Will.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of agree with Olen and Mathew a little bit. I think cinematically this is gorgeous. It's flawless. Like the set design, the sound design. Like right when the movie starts, you immediately feel like this is gonna be something really epic. And that continues, like the world building all the way through. It's beautiful to watch. But as a movie, yeah, it's slow as hell. I think, you know, Blade Runner, the title, you know, you kind of assume it's going to be an action. You know, Deckard's kind of like a detective, bounty hunter type guy. Like you think there's going to be a lot more going on, and it's slower than that. And something I didn't realize until like after I watched and thought about it a little bit is it's more it's more a movie that like makes you question some things, and you know, the themes about humanity and all that stuff. Like it's a thinker for sure. So I didn't, you know, it wasn't a thrill ride for me, but I think cinematically it's beautiful, you know, and there's some good acting. Rutger Howard, or what was his name? I forget.
Yeah, Rutger Hauer, he killed it.
And you know, Harrison Ford, he's freaking Hollywood Jesus. So it was awesome, but I didn't love all of it, but I think it was beautiful.
Well, Will, when I put this out and said who wants to be on this one, you jumped at it. So you've obviously heard of this movie.
Yeah, I've attempted to watch it a couple times and I've fallen asleep. And then when the sequel came out, I love the director Denis Villeneuve. So I was like, oh my God, and Ryan Gosling is, you know, the new Harrison Ford in the sequel. So I really enjoyed that one, but I just could never get through this one. So I was excited to finally jump into it.
Yeah, so Dan, you know, we went back and forth trying to pick a title for a movie to talk about and landed on this one. So I know that there's something interesting to you in this movie. Tell me, why do you admire this film, or what do you think of this film?
Oh no, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's like I have an extremely great digital copy of it, so I think I watch it once a year. I remember the first time I saw the movie. I remember the theater I was at and who I was with. So I was the Paramount Theater on Jasper Avenue in Edmonton. I was with my best friend, one of my best friends, John Richardson, who was like the cerebral movie picking friend. So he would always come up with titles and we would go see movies together. And we went the day it opened. We watched it, I think the 7:00 show, and then we looked at each other when the credits rolled and we decided to watch it again. So we watched it twice that night. And why did I love that movie, and why do I love that movie? I loved it then because I had never seen a movie like that before. So immersed. You know, so this is pre-digital. This was like models and optical tricks and such an incredible attention to detail that I was overwhelmed. And this, I was just getting started in the business in '82. Like I was doing very low quality television. I hadn't started movie stuff yet. And, you know, commercials and local broadcast stuff. And I sort of saw immediately what went into this. So, you know, and I love the performance. Like I still get wrapped up in this movie, right? Like when I watched it prepping for this broadcast, again, you know, it just brings back, but you know, that's just me. That's, you know, and the funny thing is that the interesting thing is that as I went through my film career, this movie gets referenced a lot. It's one of those films where the director will go, you know, that thing, you know, that whatever, you know, so the origami got referenced a few years ago, and the pistol for sure got referenced a few years ago. And so one of the things I really want to talk about today is the sort of the DNA, the trail of how one idea in one movie gets kind of dragged into another movie, and then another idea gets dragged forward. So I've got a little story about 2049.
Great.
At some point during this, I'd love to tell you, because it sort of shows you how the circle becomes complete.
What tell us?
Dan, I can see why you love this. Like, don't get me wrong. When I said it was slow, etc., I still loved it. But you used the word overwhelming, and that's what I loved about this movie. And what I meant by you don't watch it, you inhabit it. It was so immersive. It was so immersive that way, right? And I have to shout out to Frank Lloyd Wright. I saw Frank Lloyd Wright building in there that I love. His later work, and yeah, it's just gorgeous.
Well, Mathew, both you and Dan used the word immersed, and I have to say, I bet this film has a different impact if you're watching it in a theater for the first time versus on a TV screen.
100%.
Right? Because I think that immersion has something to do with it.
I have a really big OLED TV though, so it was awesome.
Well, humble brag.
I do want to point out one of the things that I was really impressed with, and I suspect, I mean, maybe Dan, you can speak to this somewhat, but it looked really good still. Like a lot of the times you go back to the 80s and a lot of these movies, even with the upscaling and all sorts of things people have done to try and keep movies alive, they don't look that good anymore. And this movie looked stunning, with the exception of one scene of the car driving when it, like, there was just one cut of it where it just clearly was a cardboard box being moved. Other than that one,
through the tunnel, the glossy
Yeah.
tile tunnel. It does look like a cardboard box. I know. I noticed that too. Oh well. Good
But
try.
it's the only one. All the
No,
others,
no,
it looks great.
Yeah, it's too bouncy, right? It just
Yeah.
bounces too much. Oh well.
Yeah. So Dan, tell your story.
Okay, so I don't know. I'm not gonna. When was it? 10 years ago. I'm doing this show, and we have a pistol. There's a pistol. This is like a sci-fi thing. This is like we're gonna create. We're not gonna go and rent a pistol from the pistol guy. We're gonna create a pistol. And so I sit down with the director, and I go, what should we do? You know, what are your thoughts on this, and what direction would you like to go? And he immediately references Decker's pistol, and it's not the first time you've heard this. And so, you know, my illustrator is Ray Lai, and I love Ray, and he's done a million great props for me and for everybody. And so we start, and you can't rip it off. You can't just do the same thing because it's first of all, it's not the way you want to do it, and it's illegal. So, but we start to massage the idea, and we come up with this really, really cool gun, and everyone's happy. You know, this is what we do, and this is how things trickle down and go all over the place, you know, in the movie world. Someone starts with a great visual, and other people evolve that idea. So for me, and this came as a total shock, and this is 2049 when it came out. Like, I love that movie too, and I love Denis Villeneuve's work, and I was excited about watching this movie in the theater. So I don't know, a long time ago I did the pilot for Battlestar Galactica. And we were trying to come up with what was the future, and we came up with the idea that the future is a bit retro. And so we were starting to come up with visual ideas that use sort of chunky older items and sort of scaling them a little bit. And I was talking to my buyer, Dinesh Gill. Dinesh and I did a lot of movies together, and he was so talented. He is so talented. And I was saying, we need cases. We need equipment cases for people. There's like a flight deck in Battlestar Galactica. People are rushing around, and the Vipers are getting refueled, and they're getting fixed and rearmed. And there's people with equipment cases. And I go, Dinesh, we need equipment cases. And he comes back. He goes to the Hilti store on Lougheed Highway in Burnaby, and he comes back with a bunch of old Hilti tool cases that are painted red, and there's no tools in them. This is just the case, and they're really interesting. And they're basically square, but they have the corners cut off. They're 8-sided. And so at the end of every day, the buyers come in with stuff, and you know, my other people go looking for stuff. I go looking for stuff, and we build in this pile in our lockup of interesting objects. And these Hilti cases really stand out to me. And I'm going, with a little bit of paint and a little bit of stuff, these are going to be fantastic. So get some more. And then finally we realized that we really like it's the 8-sided thing, right? And then Max Matsuoka is on the show, and he goes, well, we should start doing more of this 8-sided thing. And it turned into the visual theme for Battlestar Galactica. It turned into, but it started with Dinesh finding a tool case at like a beat up old, I don't know, $50 tool case. And it was the inspiration. You know, you talk to anybody who's into Battlestar Galactica, they're going to talk about that. So anyway, I'm watching 2049 in the theater, and Edward James Olmos is in the movie, right? He's in Blade Runner, the first one.
Yeah.
He's in Battlestar Galactica, the one that I worked on. He's in 2049. He's an elderly man. He's like in an older home, and he's in a wheelchair. And they cut back to a wider shot of him, and his headrest has 8 sides to it.
Hey, that's awesome.
Right? And that's just a subtle nod. That's just whoever designed that chair, an art director, the set decorator, the prop master. It's just a nod to where he was and the history of Edward James Olmos, and it's a full circle thing. And I think I saw that by myself. I think I was in the theater by myself that day, and it was like, so you can't turn to anybody and go, by the way, you know what I mean? Like, it's amazing how it works. How it all trickles down, right?
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Also, Battlestar Galactica is my favorite version of the future. Like, my favorite representation of the future. So
I love that. I love that show so much, especially the house at the beginning. I want that house so badly before the big bomb goes off. I love that house. But anyway, you talked about the future, and it's interesting how the future, you know, isn't what it used to be. And it strikes me how Blade Runner got the future so wrong. It imagined these artificial beings struggling to become human, but what's actually happening right now is we're having to adapt ourselves to machine logic, right? Sort of optimizing language online, etc. So and the machines aren't the one with like a limited lifespan. It's us. So it's actually almost the opposite of what Blade Runner's about, right? It's really interesting.
The thing is, I don't think Blade Runner.
The question isn't AI will become human. It's whether humans are going to be allowed to stay inefficient, you know?
I would argue that the AI, the machine part of it, isn't really the story of Blade Runner. It's the human part of it. And I think the limited lifespan of them is just to help us look at it from our point of view, right?
Well, this is one of the themes of the movie, is that people say they tried to make the robots look more human than the humans, and that's part of the story here, I think. But what do I know? So, Dan, you've had an effect on us in this podcast. I think you've been referenced in about 4 of our podcasts since we talked to you the first time, because now we all pay attention to the details in the movie, and we're all way more interested in how a film was made. Actually, we had a great episode with a film editor, too, that's just given us more and more learning about how films are made. I know you worked on iRobot as well, and I wanted to ask, how is it that props help to sort of establish the world? And, you know, can you kind of compare what was done here with a film like iRobot, which is very similar in a lot of ways, but so different as well?
Well, you immerse yourself. You know, the way that you figure these things out, I think, is you try to you want to learn. You want to learn what the sets are looking like. You want to learn what the costumes are looking like. You want to you want to be close with the decorator and figure out. You want to all establish a language that is the same language. You want it to flow cohesively, and it evolves. You know, it's almost like the plastic tool case story, right? We had no idea on day one on Battlestar that we were going to go in that direction. So there's a creative flow that comes along. You want to be cohesive with your teammates in a way, but at the same time, there's these little sparks of energy that take you places, and you never know. It's like a totally unpredictable thing. And sometimes sometimes that spark doesn't really happen. Sometimes it's very sort of, it just goes with the flow. And sometimes there's this sort of little outbursts that they're tremendously fun. And sometimes they can be a real problem too, because like, for instance, on the Battlestar thing, once we realized we wanted to do the 8-sided thing a lot, we'd already built a bunch of stuff that didn't have the 8 sides, so we had to go back and change them. But we felt good about it because it made sense.
Dan, that's really interesting. The creative process. I'm going through a bunch of rebranding work. So I work in comms and advertising, and I'm finding the language of the brands and the visual language of the brands, and made some stuff, and exactly what you said, then suddenly bump into something and realize, I gotta go back. I've got to go back and change all of that, because that it hits, and you wouldn't think about it. Sometimes you just have to bump into it, don't you?
No, it's true.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's it's a fascinating process.
So Dan, what's your favorite prop from this movie?
I betcha. I wonder. I'm okay. You know what it is? It's Tyrell's glasses. It's his eyewear. Yeah, it's not. I'm probably the only person who's going to say that today.
I flagged it. I had that in my list.
Did you? Okay, good. No, I loved his eyewear. I remember liking them I wasn't even a prop master the first time I saw them, and I'm going, oh my gosh, those are great. You know, the giant oversized, and they're nice and thick. And then as a prop master, I start to realize those wouldn't be easy to make. You know what I mean? Like you really have to get an optical thing ground there. And so I love, there's a lot of things that I like though, like the Boy Comp machine's cool, challenging, especially to do, with those screens, with those cathode ray screens back then, lots of things. But no, I like Tyrell's eyewear.
Anybody else have any favorite props from that movie?
I like the numbered snake scale. I thought that was cool. Like you have like coding in the snakes, and the Esper photo enhancement console. Not really prop, more of a costume, but like I don't know why, but I love that see-through raincoat so much. It's just,
that's visually stunning. Yeah.
And of course, like Frank Lloyd Wright's Mine revival era is throughout this entire movie, and I think it's the Ennis house. I think they might have shot in the Ennis house, if I'm right.
I
Yeah.
think they
So,
did the gate. They drove to the gate, the Ennis
yeah.
house.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Only Mathew would know that.
I don't have a specific prop, but I do have a specific set which was filled with props that I liked.
Which was?
J.F. Sebastian's terrifying apartment. Just like everything was horrifying in there, and I loved it. It was
I want to
so
look
fun to look at.
It's great, isn't it? It's so fun.
Nicole,
It was
that's
so cool.
that's so interesting because I have a question down here for Dan, which is how much storytelling is done by the background objects? Because in watching this, I watched beyond the blaster. I looked at what's in the background, like the signage, the clutters, the ads, stuff that's on the table. Like that's important too, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's probably decorating. That's probably the set decorator, just going all out. No, for sure. That set is amazing. And then the architecture of that set, you're this gigantic, like, what is that, 12-foot ceilings, 16-foot ceilings, in the Bradbury block. And no, that's a great set.
I'd say my favorite prop, probably in the beginning when he's getting the interview with the replicant. And he's got that machine. It's like a computer, but it's obviously
The
something
Voight-Kampff machine.
The Voight-Kampff, is that what it is?
Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And this isn't so much a prop, but it was one of my favorite parts. It's when Deckard, I don't know, he was just in a fight or something, and he takes a sip out of a shot glass, and then a little bit of blood spills back into the shot glass. I don't know why. I just love that little detail.
Cinematic.
Very cool. Very cool.
I mean, I struggle to pick a specific prop that isn't, the gun or the origami or all these common things. But I think part of the challenge is this movie makes every room seem lived in. And one of the things that really struck me was Deckard's room. In so many films, the main character's room would be void of everything, void of character. And that room was just overstuffed.
Yeah.
I did
And-
like his room as well. It was a cool set.
It seemed like a place a sad bachelor would live in.
It did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will say that this movie certainly made the future look bleak. That is for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, while we're talking about props, I think the most referenced prop from this movie is the blaster, right? Deckard's blaster. And, I mean, do you think maybe that's one of the most talked about props in movie history, Dan? What would be at the top of the list?
Oh, that's up there for sure. I've always admired that. And there's guys that make replicas of it. Like somebody's decoded the whole, like, he started with a bolt action this and it added that, and that's cool. I mean, I love the amount of effort and work that went into that.
Yeah.
That prop. It's just amazing.
Well, I looked it up because I was curious. The last time one of them sold, so one of the set used props sold, was 2018. Any guesses on what it sold for?
No.
30 grand.
Oh,
200.
good guess, Will. 39,000. I was surprised that it
39?
was so cheap.
What's up? Price is right.
Yeah. Well, COVID changed the prop collectors market. If that went up now, it would sell for millions, I'm sure.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, before we move on, can anybody here explain the role of the origami in the movie?
It's hinting subtly that Deckard is potentially a replicant.
Yeah, everybody got that out of this?
Yeah, we all picked that up.
Except for
Nobody missed that doozy.
I'll be honest, I read that after when I was writing the script for this episode, and I'm like, whoa.
It also depends what cut of the movie you've watched. It's easier and harder to pick up on. A lot is removed from the original cut I'm sure you have it in your trivia, but there's a lot of interesting stuff that went down around that.
I do have it in the trivia. That is true. Okay, Mathew, do you think the replicants were more human than humans in this movie?
Do I think they were more human than humans?
Yeah.
No, I think they're pretty much human, actually, because they were complicated.
I don't think they were more or less human, because I don't think that's a possibility, but I think they were cramming every human experience into a shorter amount of time than humans, because they had a shorter lifespan.
I think
Interesting.
that's a very good way to put it, because they are part of the thing that really came across in my rewatch this time was how kid-like they are, because they're learning their emotions for the first time and they don't really have our lifespans to figure out how to cope with them.
Yeah, I think a lot of thought went into how those replicants were going to behave in this movie. And Rutger Hauer nailed it for sure.
I think a big part of what makes the replicants human, or at least that they're trying to be human, is just their fight for survival. They were like, they were fear of death. They were like, I don't want to fucking die,
That's very
human.
human.
It's a big human thing.
Agreed. Yeah. So then in the big scene when Rutger Hauer, Batty, was dying, why did he save Decker?
Mercy.
A human emotion.
Yeah. It's a very deep movie.
I also think he imparted into Decker a lot of his experiences, right? Like the whole hunt, chase, psychological torture bit at the end, right? Making him experience the fear they did, trying to convey to Decker the emotions he had. I think he saved Decker at the end because Decker was his memory, the person to carry it on.
Interesting.
That's an interesting point.
Okay, last question before we go to best parts. Do you think Decker was a replicant?
To be honest, I don't really care who is and who isn't. Like, why do we need to know? Just let people live.
Okay.
I don't think he was.
I also don't think he was.
I don't know. My gut feeling.
When I saw the blood in the shot glass, Will, I thought he's human.
Yeah.
That
That's
was
a good
my
tell.
point. Dan, do you have a view on this?
Well, I never really thought of, when I first saw the movie, I never thought he was a replicant. And it wasn't until I think I read some people saying that maybe he was. I don't know. And I don't think the blood matters because when he shoots the woman in the clear trench
They all
coat,
have blood. Yeah.
isn't there blood everywhere? So
Yeah.
I don't think that's an indicator, right?
Touche.
I don't know.
True.
There's an interesting debate between, I think it was Ridley and Harrison really didn't want them to put in the hints towards him being a replicant because he thought it took away from his story, because for Decker it's rediscovering emotion,
Yeah, good
right?
point.
And if he's a replicant, it kind of cheapens that a little bit.
Sounds like Harrison Ford's trying to hide that he's a replicant.
I can't remember in the book. So I read the book when I was young. What was the book called?
Do androids dream of electric sheep?
Yeah, I read that
That's
when I was
one of my best parts is that book title.
Yeah, I can't remember if he was replicant or not.
No, but it was a big scene. Ironically, before Dad messaged me about doing this podcast, I was reading this book for the first time.
Oh.
And there's a big scene in the book where a replicant is trying to trick him into thinking he's a replicant, so he'll stop hunting them.
Interesting.
But the book is quite different from the movie. Like, themes are the same,
Yeah.
but there's no electric sheep in the movie.
Boo. More electric sheep.
More like, bah.
Okay, well, let's move on to best parts of this, and I will just call out in a broad sense when Batty, Rutger Hauer, was chasing Deckard at the end. That whole scene, I got super engaged in that. I thought it was so cool.
was
That
pretty
is
cool.
the scene to me. Like, that entire chase, the end, the emotion of it, the emotion of his death. That is the pinnacle of the movie in my mind.
I agree, and then this is a good chance for me to say how much I love Rutger Hauer as an actor. Like, did he not just nail this role? First of all, he was scary as shit when he was chasing him.
Oh, yeah.
And then when he had to portray emotion at the end,
I was thinking about how good he is at presenting himself in different ways, because we just did a Rutger Hauer movie and he was not scary at all in that. And in this one, I was like, oh, I don't want to be near that guy. He is terrifying.
yeah, I think he is. I mean, I think he's a well-respected actor, but I think he's underrated. I mean, I always loved him. You know, being a fan of 80s movies, you're going to come across Rutger Hauer all the time, but I just never really knew till I was rewatching films like this how actually good he was.
Best parts, I said mine already. One of them was the blood spilling back into the shot glass. I love that little detail. Another best part is just the set design, the world building. It like we've talked about it 6 times already, but it just, you feel like you're in this crazy dystopian future the whole time. And then I got Harrison Ford falling in love with a robot. Been there, brother. You know. And then probably just the final scene, the climax. Like it was crazy.
Yeah, I love in any movie when there's a fight scene and someone chooses to do like elaborate gymnastics, flips and tricks leading up to attacking someone. Like the other person could just walk away at that point, but it makes me laugh so hard every time. She's doing like back flips and back handsprings and cartwheels, all to land on his neck to strangle him with her legs.
Although it looked a little terrifying when he was in that hold. I thought, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, we should give a shout out to Daryl Hannah too, because she was quite young when she did this, but she was excellent as well.
She definitely embodied a terrifying aura, because I did not want to run into her on the street.
Okay, I didn't know whether to put this on best parts or worst parts in this film, but the Esper machine, the machine that enhanced.
Oh, but
I love the concept.
that's such an inspirational thing for so much. Like that, I feel like that scene, at least from my view, love it or hate it, I feel like that scene being replicated is the thing I see most in both games and media, like all media, like movies, TV shows.
Oh. It's used
everywhere.
in cop shows all the time. You get some shitty old photograph and you say enhance.
The thing I liked about that was, because I remember the first time seeing this and I'm going, oh, okay, so it's like super magnifying. But then it goes behind the wall and sees it from a different angle. And then I'm sitting there going, oh, it's 3D too. It's not just something that zooms in. It's actually changing the perspective. It's a 3D photograph. And I thought that was really, really super smart.
Yeah. It would be cool to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So Dan, this movie was your pick. What's your favorite part about this movie?
Well, there's a dream aspect to this movie that affects me every time I see it. And so I'll pick two little chunks, because there's no props, there's no actors. It's just setting the stage. One of the dreams is we're in the Bradbury block. We're on the top there, right by the Sebastian's apartment. We're looking up through the skylight of the Bradbury, and that blimp goes by with the geisha, and it's got that, the neon and the thing. And it's a dream. It's a dream of an advertisement of a thing, and it's like totally something you've never ever seen before. And so that gets me every time. It's like an emotional thing of the sort of that aspect. And then the other one is when Harrison Ford is running for his life and Rutger Hauer's going to kill him, and he's out on the ledge, and it's a matte painting, and it's looking down that street, and there's kind of like a bluey gray sort of tone to the matte painting, and it's like this. It's just like, I don't know. It's kind of a haunting, dreamlike cavern. I don't know. Those are the things that stick out in my mind. There's lots of things I love about the movie, but to me that is totally unique and very emotional.
Right on.
I mean, those are both really good scenes, and those are one of the things this film does so well, which is build that atmosphere and everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
I can jump in and do my favorite parts.
Do it.
I think the world building, I think it outclasses most modern sci-fi. I think Roy Batty, actually, it's funny, he quietly becomes the moral center of the film. Like
Absolutely.
You think he's supposed to be the bad guy, but in the end he's not, which was really cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
And the ending, I think it resolved, you're not sure intellectually sort of maybe all the details, but it resolves emotionally for me. So those are my favorite parts.
Cool.
I feel like, there's a lot of things that I think this film is brave for that you wouldn't see a lot in the modern day, but one of it is kind of it's not a clean ending in some ways. Like, it is an ending, but it feels more like a real life ending.
Yeah, I was going to ask if people
everything's
like
perfect.
the ending to this.
Loved it.
Honestly, by the time we got to the ending, I was just so grateful it was over that I didn't really care if the ending was good or not. I was just like, oh, it's over and that's good.
Okay, well, that's
Right.
a lovely segue. As much as there's many best parts to this film, we always have to do the work and talk about the worst parts as well. Anybody care to call out
Well,
any worst parts?
I think to Nicole's point there, like for me, it was fine. But I think for anyone who had an expectation of propulsion, I think the pacing would lose them. I think some of the character relationships were a little bit more implied than earned.
It
If
wasn't
I'm
even
honest.
about the pacing for me. I love a slow movie. I watched a movie the other day that took place in one room the entire time, and it was so slow, but it was good. Like, they had things that drew me in and made me interested. This one just, I didn't care what was happening.
I think part of the these weren't problems for me, but I'm trying to imagine. I think Deckard as a lead can feel deliberately hollow, but actually that's the feature of who he is. And if you're not getting it, people might not. It's not always a pleasure, but it's who he was, right?
That's one of the funny things where Harrison Ford did an amazing job of acting Deckard from the book. But there are reasons why Deckard in the book is like that don't exist in the movie. And that's one of those things that I'm not sure transferred particularly great to the movie because they didn't have it. But in the book, everyone has a device that lets them regulate their emotions and decide what their emotion of the moment is.
Oh, I would love that.
And so, like, Harrison Ford's depiction of Deckard is spot on to the book, but doesn't necessarily make sense in the movie that drops that. I do want to emphasize, because this movie, fundamental movie for me, like it set up so much of the things I love in my life. And so it's a very important movie for me. And there is one scene that makes it extremely hard for me, in my mind, to get people of younger generations and say you need to watch it. And that's the sex scene between Deckard and Rachel, where it's the classic 80s problematic trope of the girl saying no means yes.
Yeah, that was my biggest worst part.
Yeah, I captured that in
The
Woodward
sexual
Joe.
assault, don't love that. Obviously, that's not acceptable. And it made me quite uncomfortable. It also was opening up the window of, like, do the replicants understand? I don't know enough details about how the replicants work. Do they understand the concept of consent? Was she even capable of giving consent?
One thing is for sure, if you have a world with robots like this, replicants, there definitely a huge number of them being used as sex slaves, right?
Yeah, and that's a huge problem.
But if they're not human, is it? Right?
But they feel emotions.
Yeah, that's the crux of the whole story in a lot of way, right?
But
It's
yeah, that whole scene.
when
made
do
me very
you
uncomfortable.
actually become human, right?
It's just a scene that you could have not had in the entire movie would be better for it.
Yeah,
Like
it
if
didn't,
you
it
if you
didn't add
removed it.
anything.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sean. That's a really good point. I don't know what it added. Okay, well, you guys are all very intelligent and have a lot to say about this film. I may be a little bit more shallow, so I have a few a few worst parts that are maybe not as deep and insightful. First of all, why is there more smoking in the future instead of less?
Smoking's cool, Olen. Get on board.
Okay, okay, good
Maybe
point.
they're smoking something different. Maybe it's not cigarettes. We're always inventing new things to smoke.
Another worst thing for me is dying by thumbs to the eyes. That's not on my preferred way of going out.
It's an embarrassing way to go.
And
I think
then
he was just trying to find the off switch.
And then my last worst part is actually a nod to the people who made the props. I think creepy tiny robots, especially the guy with the long nose.
Yeah.
Which by the way, I read up on that, Dan, and that's a combination of props, puppets, and actors to make that effect. They used all three seamlessly because I couldn't see the switch over.
I would never have guessed that it involved all three. That's impressive.
Yeah,
They should have just hired the guy from Leprechaun. He played all the parts.
that was a good movie for sure.
Yeah. Let's watch Leprechaun again and not this.
Okay, I'm going to transition us to favorite lines.
Oh man, there's a lot I
got
could
a
go
few.
for with this film. I think, and I won't do the entire quote, but Batty's end statement, especially the "all those moments will be lost in time, like tears in the rain."
Brilliant.
Like that sentence and the way he delivered it lives rent free in my brain always.
And you know Rutger Hauer wrote that, right?
I did not know that.
I did not know
But-
that, but I love it.
It hits so hard and it sticks with me emotionally. Also, a beautiful example of, I think, the entire story is I mean, depending on which cut, I think it's the director's cut that it's the last line, but it's in all of them. It's too bad she won't live, but then again, who does?
Yeah.
Such a nice cap of, I think, what the film's about.
You're making my favorite quotes look very shallow now.
Sorry.
I have one. I forget. I should have written this down where this was in the movie. I think Rutger Hauer says it, but it's "Wake up, time to die." I love that. I don't know why. That was so good. And then another one was quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it is to be a slave.
I had that one. That was good.
That's a banger.
It's a good one.
I kind of liked the scene when he was in with Chew, the eye guy, and he said, "If only you could see what I've seen through your eyes." Those kind of.
That's a really good one.
And by the
too.
way,
Good
talking
call.
about props, his magnifying eyeglasses in that scene, phenomenal.
Yeah.
They were super
There's some
cool.
good stuff. Definitely.
Okay, any other lines you want to call out before I tell you how this movie did?
It's not an easy thing to meet your maker.
Is this testing whether I'm a replicant or a lesbian?
Oh, that was a good line. Yeah, that was funny.
Nicole, replicant or lesbian?
Both.
Lesbian replicant. I love it.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, I'm going to tell you how this movie did. Do you guys think it was successful in its day?
I don't think it was.
I didn't see it. And that's not, the world doesn't revolve around me, but it makes me wonder why I didn't see it.
Okay, well, let's find out. So according to Box Office Mojo Worldwide, Blade Runner was the 27th biggest earner at the box office in 1982. Now, E.T. was the biggest earner this year, so that just killed everybody. But Blade Runner was also beat by other sci-fi movies, including Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and Tron. It was beat by Tron.
Ooh.
That was a rough time to come out.
What year was this?
This was 1982.
Yeah, can confirm it was a rough time to come out.
That's the clip
Matthew.
That's a great joke.
That's pure gold, Matthew. That's so Blade Runner wasn't the bottom. It beat out a lot of cool movies this year, including Road Warrior and The Thing. So we're all
It
big
beat The
fans of
Thing?
the Thing on this podcast, and this movie did better.
No, we're not.
See, The Thing is another good example of a very slow movie that was effective.
It was effective. Yeah, that was a good one. Gandhi was the Oscar winner this year, and if you think Blade Runner was slow, Gandhi is over 3 hours and feels like double that.
Why are you a Gandhi hater?
I don't hate Gandhi. I hate the movie Gandhi.
He just loves imperialism.
Yeah. Three-hour movie, and I did see it in the theater, by the way, and it felt like 6.
Olin was watching it. He's like, why are the good guys losing? I don't get it.
Okay, the budget to this film, I'm going to tell you, it was $28 million. We all know that you need to at least double that to be a profitable movie. What do you think it made?
I think it made that.
40.
I think it made double.
I was thinking 40, so I'm going to go 35.
No, should have gone the other way. 41 million. So
I'm on the fucking money today.
this is
Literally.
Time to go gambling.
Oh, don't say that.
culturally impactful and financially failure. So, clearly this movie was not fully appreciated in its day. And
I got a question for you, Olin.
yeah.
Where was Harrison Ford in his career? Was this pre or post Indiana or Star Wars? Like what was
This was
his,
post Star Wars, pre Indiana.
So he was a star,
He was a star.
but not.
He was a star.
He wasn't.
He
top
had
cheese yet.
American Graffiti and Star Wars to set him up as really a leading man, a big star. And then obviously he went on to do great things after that. I mean, do you think he did a great job in this movie or no?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
He acted
okay,
the hell
everybody
out of
likes
it.
him. Good, just confirming.
Not as good as Rutger Hauer, though. He was awesome.
So I think part of the problem with this film was the fact that E.T. eclipsed all other movies that year, 1982. And I also read that the studio's cut of the movie with the voiceover narration hurt the film, as well as the fact that it was marketed as a hardcore sci-fi action thriller, not a moody noir film. So I think it was poorly positioned and advertised, and I think there's a lot with the editing. I've got some trivia on it, but before we get there, I want to do the Rotten Tomatoes game on this. So, this is obviously culturally impactful. Will, you knew about this film from 1982 and were interested to do it.
For sure.
Now that you've seen it, do you think this is a critic darling or not? Do you think the audience really liked it? Rotten Tomatoes score, Dan, if you recall, this is out of 100. The way Rotten Tomatoes works is it's a scale out of 100, and there's critics and there's audience. And what you have to guess here is how many of them said it's worth seeing. So like a 90% doesn't mean it's a 9 out of 10 movie. A 90% means 90% of the people said it's worth seeing.
Okay.
Right? So
I think
Mathew will lead the way and show you how it's done.
Critics 78, audience 62.
I'll go critics 80, audience 55.
Interesting. I'm gonna go the other way around. I'm gonna go critics 58 in audience 78.
I'm thinking like an 80 and a 65.
Dan, do you care to take a guess?
Are we talking about how people rate it now or rated it then?
It's contemporaneous.
All time.
So
all time.
All times. Every critic that's ever rated it between 1982 and today.
All right. I think the critics would be 80 and I think the audience would be 75.
Well, this is really hard. So the answer is critics 89.
Wow.
And audience 91.
Wow.
So
wow.
Everybody here underestimated the audience. 91% of people that saw this movie said, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. That's
More
nice
respect for the world than I thought I had.
I liked it.
I can't even tell you guys who won because the numbers are too big for me to do the math in my head. You guys were all way off. You got close. you all got close on the critic. I mean, 3 of you said 80 versus 89 for the critics.
I really thought the critics would not.
I can't believe audiences were 91.
Yep, 91.
That's wild.
So this movie is full of trivia. So I'm going to read you guys some facts about this movie that hopefully you find interesting. So first of all, Ridley Scott almost lost control of the movie and filmed the final scenes minutes before the studio came in to take over control of the movie. They were spooked because of bad early test screenings and the fact that it was opposite what was more popular at the time, which was E.T. So the studios feared that the world was leaning towards happy, pleasant aliens as opposed to dark, moody sci-fi.
Fuck you, studio.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the studio really killed their own movie when you hear all of the stories about how it came together. Harrison Ford hated the voiceover.
You know, leave it to some dweeb in a suit to ruin something beautiful.
I know. Harrison Ford hated the voiceover. He recorded it reluctantly and deliberately delivered it flat, hoping it wouldn't be used. The studio used it anyhow.
Good for him.
I was going to say, the voiceover, the old-timey detective voiceover didn't mesh with the vibe of the movie.
I'm actually sad you saw that version. I watched the final cut because that's the best version of it.
Sean, there were 7 official versions of this movie, depending how you count, of course. But Blade Runner has the record for the most cuts of any major film ever put out.
Wow.
I've seen 6 of the 7 versions.
The unicorn dream scene wasn't in the original release. I don't know if it was in the one you all watched. That scene was added later to strengthen the Deckard might be a replicant idea and completely changed how the film was interpreted.
Either it wasn't in the version we watched, or I zoned out real hard.
No, if you had the voiceover, you didn't have the unicorn scene.
Okay.
Those two don't exist together. Okay. And the unicorn scene is the scene that makes it much more obvious that there's hints of it, because how would Gaff know to give him a unicorn
Yeah.
origami?
Because he's dreaming it. Yeah.
Dan, did you know that a lot of the city is built from recycled sci-fi? Many of the miniatures and set pieces were reused from other films like Alien and Star Wars to save money.
Well, I think there was a whole, they called it kit bashing back then. And I sort of did a little bit of it too, where you basically, they go to the hobby shops and they would buy like kits galore and they'd buy plastic styrene stuff. Anyway, that doesn't surprise me because I think there was like a team of guys that specialized in that type of model making. So,
yeah. Well, and you would think there just has to be too. Like you make all of these cool props for these movies. There has to be a big, warehouse of them someplace where people go in and say like, this would be cool in this film. This would be cool, right? Does that happen?
Oh, for sure. And then when the movie's over, the last thing the movie wants is all this stuff. I mean, like certain things they're interested in, but especially back then, it was like, we don't want to store this. We don't want to inventory this. Let's and so someone comes along and it's either going to go in a dumpster or it's purchased for like 5 cents on the dollar. And yeah, there's going to be an entrepreneur out there that says, I'm going to buy this because I know I can use it on the next show that comes along.
And they must have, some studios must just have them too. This is not this movie, but one of the ones that always stuck out to me the most was when the Starship Trooper armor from the movie Starship Troopers showed up in the TV show Firefly as like the military uniforms. It's just literally the same everything. And I was like, oh.
Sean, we already said it, but it's worth saying again that the Tears in the Rain monologue was written by Rutger Hauer himself the night before filming it.
The night before?
That's really cool.
That's
Suck it, Ridley.
Makes him much more relatable.
Yeah. Okay, titles considered for this movie. See if you like any of them better.
I gotta be honest, anything will be better than Blade Runner.
Okay. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Android. Mechanismo. Mathew likes that one. Okay, Mathew votes for Mechanismo. Dangerous Days. And last one, Ridley Scott wanted to call the movie Gotham City, but Bob Kane, who was the comic book co-creator of Batman, wouldn't sell him the rights to the name.
Yeah, that'd be very confusing if it was Gotham City.
It would.
Could
I
do
think
Gothic
Blade Runner's the peak.
Yeah, it's
But
perfect.
it doesn't make sense.
What doesn't make sense about it?
I don't know. I just don't like it.
You're very convincing, Nicole.
I don't. You know what? It just doesn't fit the vibe.
But he's a Blade Runner.
But there's no blades. And they don't do a lot of running.
He did a lot
Why
of
do they
running.
call them that?
Okay, two more facts for you guys. Mathew, you might like this one. Deborah Harry was the original choice to play Pris.
I love Debbie Harry.
She would have been
so much.
excellent as well.
She would have been great.
Yeah, Daryl Hannah did great.
Did I ever tell you this story? I was exceedingly drunk walking through a park in Budapest, and there was a tent marquee, and music was coming from it, jazz. And I walked up, and there's a bouncer guy there, and I wanted to go, and he wouldn't let me, so I just pulled out lots of rubles or whatever they have in Hungary, and I went in. And I stand there, and it was some sort of private party thing with Debbie Harry on the stage singing a jazz rendition of One Way or Another.
Oh, that would be amazing.
That would be
Isn't that cool?
so cool.
I just bumped into it. It was like one of these magical moments. Don't ask what I was doing in the park.
Don't worry. I don't want to know.
He was Blade Running.
Okay, one last fact, and then I'll move on. It took Ridley Scott until the year 2007 to get a cut he was happy with.
God, he's such a cunt.
That's
isn't
a
he?
long time.
I mean, there was so much influence from the studio. I really think they killed their own movie.
I don't think they killed it. I still enjoyed it a lot. So
No, but what I mean, Mathew, is that the box office did not have the returns that it probably should have had, given how much people like this movie and talk about it today.
okay.
I also think for movies, just the movies you were naming at the time, I think sometimes movies come out in the wrong year for what they're doing. And I think this movie was doing something so different that I think it took a bit for the world to get comfortable with what it was and to realize how awesome it was.
Yeah, it took really a while to get comfortable with what it was, too.
They didn't have a good cut at first. They had so many different cuts.
No, I mean, the original one I don't love. And if I remember right, I think the director's cut is not actually the director's cut. I think they just found, it was labeled as an international version of the film, and they found it, and it was oh, this is closer to Ridley Scott's dream than we've ever had. So they released it as the director's cut, but he didn't have influence over it.
Mm-hmm.
This movie was recut so many times, it was just exhausting to try to figure it out, so I gave up. Okay, next category, woke or joke. So Dan, we throw this in here just to talk about anything that may not have aged well. We already mentioned the, coerced sex with a replicant, but I had a philosophical question in here for this category, which is, it really made me wonder, if we had replicants that were that realistic, do you think people would give up on trying to find real human partners?
Yeah.
Like, it would have a profound effect on humanity, wouldn't it?
Not all of them, but many would.
I think a lot would. Not all of them, but a lot. I agree.
Okay, reviews. So, however you guys felt about this movie, I promise you there were others who liked it more or less than you. So for this movie, I don't even know where to start. There were 765 10-star reviews out of 1,922 reviews. So this is officially the most reviewed movie in our podcast history. And Dan, I try to actually read all of the reviews, so 1,922 is exhausting. Anyhow, I took just a few select ones to read for you guys to get a feel for it. So this is a 10-star review. It moves like molasses in a snowstorm, but it's genius. And if you don't get it, well, that's on you. Dark, deep, uncertain, unsettling. Imagine the most beautiful nightmare you've ever had.
Yeah, I'm right there. I am right there with that person. Yeah.
If you remove the passive aggressiveness, I agree with that.
Okay, the next one.
If you keep it, I agree with that.
I only grabbed 3 to read you. So the next one says, the movie leaves you wondering about the implications of the creation of highly intelligent beings. So I guess it's a good question for you guys. Should we be scared of the evolution of robots?
Yeah.
I can tell you this. I just came back from CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, biggest consumer electronics show in the world. And I watched robots box and do jujitsu. And it was difficult to tell the difference between their moves and human moves.
I don't like that.
I saw them do dive and roll, get back up on your feet. I saw them standing on one foot doing high kicks. Like, it's unbelievable.
I do not like that.
We're getting very philosophical. I think true AI, which is not what we have now, but true AI is a important and critical technology for the human race that has very much the potential to both ruin us or save us. But I don't think we can make it to the future without it.
Fear Skynet.
I'm the opposite. I want to go back to where fax machines were the modern technology.
If you wanted a nice example of how AI can be good, read the book Scythe.
Well, no one's scared of R2-D2. That's all I'll say. Okay, one more 10-star review. This thorough examination of what it means to be human forces a careful observer to question their beliefs and attempt to choose a side on dilemmas that are still discussed by philosophers to this day. Very deep.
Wow.
But to show balance, we have to hear from the people who liked it less. And so for this movie, there were 72 people who gave this movie a 1-star review compared to the 765 10-star reviews. And even though that sounds like a big number, it's actually only 3% of the people that watched this movie hated it.
Wow.
So as a percentage, it's low. And I will note that some people dared to call this the worst sci-fi movie of all times.
That's just ridiculous.
So
Cool.
the first one, I think Blase Runner is a better title. Okay, at least he's clever.
I do like that.
Next one, perhaps the most overrated film in sci-fi history, proceed with caution. And short of 2001: A Space Odyssey, Blade Runner has to be the most boring science fiction film of all time. Ridley Scott is a no-talent hack. Ooh, shots fired.
My God.
Wow.
I don't know how you can say that. This is the guy that brought us Gladiator, one of the best films ever.
Whoever wrote that is like, it's a 50-year-old unemployed man in his mom's basement, and there's like a Cheeto stain on the caps lock.
I think that guy's never ever seen another Ridley Scott movie. I think this is the only one he's seen, and he was like, this must be what all of them are like.
Gladiators, Alien, like
Good movies.
good movies. Okay, well, let's hear from Siskel and Ebert, the professionals. 89% of professional critics liked this movie. Do you think Siskel and Ebert liked it?
Maybe 50-50.
Isn't it always 1 and 1?
Often. It's often 1-on-1 because they hated each other.
Not if that's what I guess.
In their 1982 review, Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert were divided on Blade Runner. Look, you guys got it right. They debated whether its special effects compensated for the narrative flaws. Ebert praised the visual design, but felt the story and characters were thin, while Siskel dismissed the film as a waste of time with a stagnant plot after the initial visuals. And they did give it 1 thumb up and 1 thumb down. So they were not complimentary of the film.
Interesting.
Now, remake. I was going to ask you guys if it deserves a remake or sequel. I think we all know that it had a sequel. So Blade Runner 2049, which came out in 2017. And just to give you a benchmark, the Rotten Tomato score for that was 88 critics and 88 audience. So very close to the first movie. I have not seen it. Who has seen it, and who can tell me if it's good?
I've seen it.
Sean has seen it. Dan,
Yep.
any good? Is it good?
I liked it. No, I thought it was great. But I'm on board for the first one, so I want to learn where the story goes from there.
I mean, to your core question, I don't think this needs a remake because I think the coolest thing is the world. And so I just want more stories in the world.
So you'd like to see more stories from it. Well, I can tell you that instead of more theatrical sequels, the franchise has actually moved sideways. So animated shorts have bridged the gap between the films, and a live action series, Blade Runner 2099, has just been announced, signaling a shift toward long form storytelling rather than another direct sequel. So they're going to make a sci-fi series out of it.
Interesting.
That actually makes sense.
It does. I think there's a lot you could tell here.
If you want to be miserable, you can play the Blade Runner 1997 adventure game.
I have one more fact that I dropped into this section for a reason. So I read a story with Ridley Scott that he says this movie shares the universe with Aliens. So my question is, what do you think of a crossover movie? Aliens and Blade Runner. They had a good replicant in Alien.
I mean, if you think about it, I actually can see the connections because they have the androids in Alien, and the worlds do look similar.
They do, for
I haven't
sure.
seen Alien since I was a child, so I do not remember it. I would love to see it again.
I love Alien.
It's a great movie.
So good.
Matthew, are you a fan of Alien?
I am, but it's been kind of ruined by my husband, who watches it 5 billion times a year.
That can happen. Okay, well, we are at the end of the podcast. So now I have to ask you guys, is Blade Runner too old or pure gold?
I'm just going to say gold. I'm not going to say pure gold.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh, you're letting people hedge now? You used to give me so much trouble for trying to hedge.
Just you.
I see. Pure
Answer
gold.
the question, Sean. Don't make
Pure
me get
gold.
hostile.
Pure gold.
Pure gold.
Yeah. I honestly think, like, I can understand why people don't enjoy this movie. Like, it's a movie where I can totally see why it wouldn't sit well with people because it's a very different film. But it is so impactful to the world afterwards. I think it's an incredibly important piece of media.
This is truly fascinating to me that everyone's saying pure gold, because everyone I talked to about this movie before coming on this podcast did not like it. So I'm shocked that everyone here likes it.
This is why we do the podcast. Like, do all these movies translate to current generations, and do they hold up?
Well,
It's a
you
good
know
question.
why I think it's interesting, because I talked to people from multiple generations. It was not just my generation.
Look, we can't control the quality of your friends.
Well, guess what? They're your family. You're related to them.
I'm giving it a pure gold, and Nicole, I'm kind of with you in that I'm the guy that at the start of this said it was a little slow, and I couldn't call it a great film, but I found it very interesting. But for me, first of all, I recognize its importance, and second of all, the ending of it, that whole scene where Batty is chasing down Deckard at the end, and the speech at the end, and all of that just brought it all together for me, and I thought it was awesome at the end there. So I'm giving it a gold.
If you had just showed me that scene and been like, take your guess on whether this is a good movie, I probably would have been like, yeah, that seems good. But I do think that as a whole, it's too old.
Yeah, looking at this, and I think I realized that Blade Runner rewired how movies looked at the future. Thinking about movies before this, sci-fi was clean and optimistic and singular in a lot of ways, and this made it completely the opposite. And you can see how it's been reflected over decades. So I'm going to give it a pure gold.
Okay. Dan, I know where you stand on this movie, but would you like to state it for the record?
Oh, I love this movie. I'm pure gold on this movie.
Well, I just want to say one more thing. I did a little research on movies with replicants or very human robots, and if you guys are interested, this was a 91 on Rotten Tomatoes. The movie AI was a 64. Ex Machina, which I think is a great film too, got an 86. The Terminator is 89. Westworld, 84. I, Robot, Dan, you worked on that one, was a 70 with audiences. So that just gives you a taste that this is, as far as I could tell, the most beloved replicant-based movie out there. It was a great film. Dan, we always love talking to you. Thanks for joining this again.
Great having you, Dan.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much.
This is we all love talking about movies, and you're a fellow cinephile, so
I always love having you on here and hearing your opinions on these movies, but
Oh, thank you.
I really like having you on here even though we disagreed.
well, that's the basis
Still
of good
interesting.
discussion.
Oh, yeah,
I'm trying to figure out how we can convince Dad to have you back for iRobot. Like, can we pretend it's an 80s movie? Because
Oh, I love iRobot. Can we please do iRobot?
We should do it. Well, I would like to.
It's
if Dan
20
will
years
do
old.
It, if Dan will do it, I would like to have Dan on like once a quarter, because I really think, talking about how films are made with somebody that works on creating films is so interesting. So Dan, I hope you will come back, and I think we could talk about iRobot. I mean, in this one we decided to take a departure and talk about a film you didn't work on, but you have so many great titles. I would like to get into some of those as well. So yeah, we'll do iRobot.
Okay. Well, let's talk about it. We'll figure something out for sure.
Yeah,
Let's do
cool.
it.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Okay.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.